Everybody, or what's up, everybody? Welcome to Daily Refinement. On Wednesdays, we do the mastermind call live on YouTube. The other days, we just do it privately in the Patreon. And today, we're going to talk about setting a baseline for your eBay store. So, what I mean by that is, I would like everyone in the group to do half an hour of every single task, shipping, listing, photos, etc., just so you can start to develop the self-awareness of what could be improved. And I think if you only do a few minutes here and there, you never get the momentum and you never really get any traction because you don't do it long enough to get used to it. So as an example, yesterday I was showing my packer what I do with shipping, and I essentially pick every single item at once, and then I ship every item at once. And I did 10 items to show him as an example. It took me 1 minute and 20 seconds to pick 10 items. And it took me 6 minutes and 40 seconds to ship 10 items. So in 8 minutes, I shipped 10 items total, going to go get the item, coming back, shipping. And when I watched him do it, it took a lot longer because he checked his phone in the middle of picking. He like used the bathroom before whatever. So I was like, for me, it takes him 8 minutes. For you, it takes half an hour. We need to speed this up because I want you to do other things. And he asked if he wanted, he's like, I want to get paid a little bit more. And I said, great. Then you have to do a little bit more because I don't have this isn't like a charity. We have to, this is such a small team. I only have 3 people. So everyone needs to do as much as possible. I can pay you more, but you have to do more. I don't have the ability to pay more and you do less. So doing one task all the way through for half an hour is going to set the baseline. That's what I want to talk about today. But before we get into that, Isaiah, you have a question or comment?
Yeah, totally. So unfortunately, this is like kind of different than what you're talking about.
That's
right
okay.
now.
That's okay. Go ahead.
I'll also answer that question if you wanted to.
Yep.
So right now I'm at around, I think I'm close to 1,700 items in my store. But I'm not selling 17 a day.
Okay.
Like there was a times in my life where I was selling like 15, 16, 17, 20 a day. And now I'm selling like 12, 13, 14, something like that. And I'm trying to figure out like, what do I need to do? Is it just patience and compounding that's going to get me to going over that stage? I want because I've been listing 35 a day for since the 30th of November, it seems like. So I want my sales to catch up and for me to, scale past this kind of plateau that I'm at. So what do I need to do here in order to go from the sell through that I'm at to closer to 1%? Do I need to increase my promoted listings a little bit?
Where are you at now?
With what?
With sell through.
My sell through rate's like 30%.
So how many are you selling a day? Like 5?
What do you mean?
Like you have 1,600. If you have 1,700 items in your store.
Yeah.
1% would be 17.
I'm selling like 13, like 11 to 13, maybe 14.
I think that's normal for shoes. I could be wrong. It depends on what kind of shoes. So I know that Tino, the Soul Advisor, is only 10% sell through. So on 1,700 items, he would sell 170 per month, which is just 5 or 6 a day. But in his model, he gets all the money, meaning he's asking at market or a little bit less. So if you're selling, let's call it 0.7% a day or something like that.
Yeah, it's like 0.8, something like that.
Then you're in between 1%, which I would consider very fast in any category. And I would say mostly price sensitivity. I would say if you lowered your price a couple bucks, you probably would boost it up to 1. But I don't know if that is what I would do in the shoe category because the items are more expensive. So I would say I think you need to get that extra $1 or $2 because it's costs more money to buy shoes. It costs more money to clean shoes, costs more money to store shoes.
There's a lot that goes into the process. So you'd better make a good bit of money for your work. In essence. So you're saying it's relatively normal for me to be around 0.8. I don't necessarily have to be.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying it depends.
Gotcha.
For some people, if let's say, for example, you're selling Jordans that just came out, If you don't sell all of them, you might have to wait 2 years for the market to, because what happens is when they release a new Jordan, the market floods for a minute and then people lose interest. And then later people look for it again. So there's like a cycle of what the items will sell at. So it depends on what you're selling. If you're selling used shoes, it depends on which brand, which, like if you're selling used Hokas, your sell-through rate should be really fast.
Of
Used
course.
Nikes, it's difficult. Depends on how saturated the specific market is. So if you're trying to maintain a certain sell-through rate, which sounds like you're trying to maintain 1%, the key is going to be in which items you put in your store, not the promoted listings, not it's mainly what you put in. I would
So
look at which shoes you're listing.
I see. That makes sense.
Because if you're one more thought, when you're
Yeah.
tinkering with all the stuff, you're wasting tons of time.
Yeah.
You don't like all the extra stuff like from that Tech and I talk about, like increasing your promoted listings, good titles, good pictures, good item specifics, good return policy. All of that is only like 10%. 80% is what you're listing, and then 10% is your listing habit. So all the stuff we talk about shouldn't be the main focus. If your sell-through rate is too slow, you need to list different items. That's the short answer.
I see. Because like on December 30th, apparently I listed some bangers because over the next 2 days, like I sold maybe half of those items from December 30th. So okay, I understand what you're saying.
John, let's switch gears. What's up?
So kind of piggybacking off what Isaiah is asking here. So right now I'm selling about 20 a day. And I've heard in previous podcasts I've listened of yours that it'll take about a year for me to start selling about 20 a day, more or less. Is that correct or accurate? Or
So it depends on the size of your store. So if you have a huge store, it takes longer to reach, I call it reseller nirvana, where you sell and list the same number of items. I was able to reach reseller nirvana in a month in my new store because the store was so small. So it depends on how many items are in your store. If you have, and it also depends on the consistency. So as an example, in the new store, I cheated. And I call it cheating, but everyone can just do this. I essentially was just looking for plus size jeans and a few different women's brands like Madewell. White House Black Market sells well for me pre-owned. So I just looked for brands that were doing okay. And that's hard when you're just starting. So I would say that in the beginning, if somehow I could reverse the 5 years of my YouTube channel and start with fresh advice, I would say spend way more time sourcing. So how many items are in your store, John?
almost 400 now.
Almost 400. And how many sales do you have?
73.
73. So I mean, about how many per day do you think?
Well, recently about 7 to 8 per day.
Okay, so that's really fast. When we're talking about monthly sell-through rate on 400, the goal I would say is at least 4 a day.
Okay.
Then you kind of have a good barometer for if the items you're listing are good. So this is probably the main thing. If you're having 1% sell-through or higher, most of the heavy lifting is what you're listing.
Gotcha.
Now, if so, back to what Isaiah was saying, the difference between doing all the hacks, all the tricks that we learn in the group might be the difference between selling 4 a day and 6 a day. But if you don't have that listing habit, you won't sell the 4 a day, which is the main key. So yeah, thank you, John. I think that your sell-through rate is already fantastic. If you can keep your store under 1,000 items, I think you can reach reseller nirvana within a month. It doesn't take, you might even start getting most of the traction after just 1 week. I know that sounds crazy, but like, I think within 1 week, you'll start seeing the barometer move if you're under 1,000 items.
Well, I kind of messed up early on and I was an everything store and I'm still getting through my death pile before I niche down to just books and movies. But I know it'll stabilize at some point and I'll get a better gauge on things probably 3 to 6 months from now and have enough inventory to last me that long, actually. So, yeah.
I love it. Let's see.
Can I make one last comment about this?
Please.
So, I also realized something after kind of hearing you talk. I mentioned a bit when I first started talking about this, that my sales were higher at times in the year. Like last year, like around Q2, Q3, like per day. My sales number weren't higher, but
I'm sorry.
per day I was getting.
Can you repeat the last sentence you cut out?
I thought so. So there were times hold on, I'm trying to fix this. There we go. So there were times last year in which my sales were higher per day. However, like I was getting 15, 16, 20 sales in a day. But that kind of suddenly stopped. And then I realized what Tech said at the end of last year, which was, hey, this year might not go as amazingly as last year did due to, there was a lot going on in Q2 that could create a false sense of what eBay can actually be like. So, and then furthermore, my sales have been really consistent lately. Like it's kind of my sales graph looks like a straight line rather than bouncing up and down. So I guess there are some advantages to where I am currently. I just was wondering if I could push it further in order to get to that 16 per day.
Well, this is something really important. If you're not happy with 10, 12 sales a day and you want 17 sales a day, then don't grow. Make sure you go back in your store, adjust everything. Maybe let your store go down to 1,500 items and just list 5 awesome items every day instead of your normal 25. List 5 awesome items. So when you first start that repair mode, you still need your listing habit, but the worst thing that can happen is you have 10 sales with 1,700 items and you grow to 3,000 items and you still only have 10 sales. That's horrible because now you run out of money. So last night's shoe call was unbelievable. So if you guys want to go back and listen to that, that's a good call to listen to. But essentially, people run out of money because they don't have enough sales. It's not because of other reasons. If you have right now you have 10 sales, Isaiah, let's say you have $10 profit. So that's $100 on 10 sales. If you buy $80 worth of stuff and list it, but you make $100 profit a day, you won't run out of money. The problem is if you're listing 17 shoes that cost you $10 and you're paying 170 a day every day, but you're only making 100, you'll run out of money. So before growing, go back and fix your sales so that you have enough money to fund your growth. If you're, excuse me, in this magical place where you can grow and you're making money, that's impressive because usually when you grow, you're not making any money. And what I mean by that is, let's say you I have 10 sales a day and then you list 10 items a day, you don't have any profit. You use your $100 to list 10 more items and now you're broke again. And you have to wait until your sales grow to 11, 12, 13 before you have a little bit of a buffer in between. That's why I recommend everyone just have a 100 item store. If you're not having one sale, then you need to slow down and go back and figure out why. Jen? Hopefully Jen can chat. Her hand is raised.
I'm here. Sorry.
What's up?
Yeah, I was just not to switch back to the topic that we were starting with, but I did do the schedule that you laid out yesterday, and I finished rather than finishing at 12:30, I finished at 1:48.
Okay.
And taking notes of what was causing the slowdown was pretty much 2 things. I actually listed in the 2 hours that you allotted. It was the prep time that pushed me over that hour and 18 minutes.
Okay. But that was like still significantly earlier than before, right?
Oh yeah. And actually, I honestly felt lost as I was leaving the storage facility. I'm like, now what? What do I do? So I went out and I sourced, went home, prepped some of that stuff. So when I stored it, getting it ready to list, I wouldn't have to prep it again. And then literally went on to text call and listed while the call was going on. So it doesn't really matter. I'm still going to work all day, but it felt differently. I felt free. Like I now had some choices on different areas that I could improve my business.
Okay. So
in that afternoon.
That's the best thing ever. Okay, because I follow this community called FIRE, which is financially independent, retire early. And there's a lot of people who are 30 years old and retired. They saved $2 million by the time they're 30, and then in theory, they don't need to work anymore. But that's not what happens. When you're 30 years old and you've retired, you work more because now you pick projects that you like. You go do things that you're passionate about. They have one pina colada, then they go back to work. No one like stops working when they've made it. That doesn't make sense because now you finally have the freedom to do whatever you want. You're just going to do nothing. That's not what happens.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
what then that happened to you on a small scale. You finish your day at 1:48, but you don't go to bed till when you go to bed?
9:30.
Okay, so that's 8 hours. What are you going to do with yourself? Well, you'll figure out things to do. So
Yeah.
I want everyone to there's no reason to have your eBay day take up the whole day.
Right. Well, it's funny because of yesterday, I called a former salsa dance instructor and asked him if he had time for a lesson today, this afternoon. So I have to be done by 12:30 because I've got
I
to be over
love it.
there. I've got to be over there at 1:15.
You
So
inspired me hardcore yesterday with your 8 hours of scheduled thing. I don't know what that is. Maybe I'll learn how to sing or play the piano or something. I'd love to have
I
eight
think hobbies
hours.
are great because
They are
it
great.
honestly, the hobbies have become so important that I work to support them because they I'm not particularly talented as a skater, but I work really, really hard. And when I do something right, I don't, God, do I feel good. So the hobbies are great and they aren't necessarily money makers, but they motivate me to work harder so I can support them.
I agree. Catherine?
I had almost the exact same day. I think Jenna and I are a lot alike. I started my new schedule that we worked on yesterday, but not till after the call.
Mm-hmm.
And I got done a lot earlier than I thought I would. I didn't get as many listings or pictures taken,
Mm-hmm.
but I know why. And they're easy fixes.
But why did you know why before?
No.
See how different it is when you're on a schedule. You immediately know why you couldn't get something done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they were things that, well, almost all of them are things I could fix. The only one I can't fix is we got a dog, and I wanted to make sure because of my business, I didn't get a puppy or a dog that sheds a lot, and I wanted a small dog. So now I have a puppy that sheds a lot that's 48 pounds, which I didn't follow any of my
I love it.
protocol. And he just likes to get into things. So that interrupts a lot. But I got done early and I was just like, Jen, it's kind of like that feeling where you stand in the middle of the room and you don't know if you found a rope or lost a horse. You just don't know what to do. You're not sure what's happening. So I played piano because I haven't played piano for quite a while and I missed it. I realized how much I missed it.
See, this is before you didn't have time for piano.
Didn't have time.
Right. Yeah, this is the painful truth of eBay. You have to get better at your job so that you have because first off, everything gets more expensive. So you've got to get better at your job. But then when you get better at your job, you do it in less time. And I think that my new worker that's shipping wants to do music for a living. And he told me that once he started working for me full time, he's making more music than before working for me when he was doing music full time. Because I'm like, look, you want to do music? Let me set up your schedule. You come work here all day because that's what I want from you. And you'll get paid and you can use that money to do your music thing. And at night, schedule out your time. Figure out what is it that you're trying to do. This time is composing. This time is actually making the music. This time is networking with peers that do music. And he went to LA before coming up here and was like surprised at how businessy music is. And I'm like, yeah, there's tons of people who make millions of dollars in music or hundreds of thousands of dollars in music, but they're usually part of some giant engine. The solo musician that's very hard. So it's the same as reselling. I was just thinking about this morning. Reselling is really, really easy to start, very difficult to standardize, right? If you want to standardize it so it turns into a job, that's very difficult. But just doing it however you want to, that's piece of cake. Anybody can do eBay however they want. But if you want to grow, you need systems. And
I wanted to thank you for just going over that schedule with me, because it just changed how I view the whole job, that I have a life beyond it. Because it's really easy when you have free time to just think about other work you can do. I'm a very work-oriented person. I've always worked a lot of hours. I've always had 2 or 3 jobs at a time.
mm-hmm.
And now I have the one. And it seems like I need to fill up my spare time with more work, and I don't need to do that.
Yeah, I recommend everyone have at least one hobby, because then it motivates you to get done earlier so that you can go do that.
Can I just throw in something that she just said that just like hit me like a brick?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's almost like working to work makes no sense. I mean, working to fill the time makes no sense. I mean, if I'm going to work, make it count. And I feel like I've done that in my life as well. I like work because I have to, but it's not a 9 to 5. And I've never been a 9 to 5, but I fill the time with a lot of senseless things that don't get me to the end goal. And I noticed yesterday, I was able to get done hours earlier. That's like a whole different way of looking at my time. And I thought I always valued my time, but I don't think I nailed it. And yesterday I didn't nail it because I didn't meet the goal, but I got real close and I got a taste of it.
Well, I was just, yesterday when I did your schedule and Catherine's schedule, I was thinking, I have 4 hours and 20 minutes of baby time. That's a lot, right? It takes me an hour and a half to drive the baby to daycare and back. That's another, now we're almost 6 hours. I make a YouTube video every day. That's another 2 hours. I exercise every day. There's another half an hour to an hour. That's all stuff that you guys didn't mention in your schedule that I still fit in. And I make a luxurious cup of coffee at least once a day. I think if I wanted to take 10 minutes and have an amazing retreat with myself and a cup of coffee, I was even thinking about that. You could do that 5 times a day. If you're Tom Ford and you're the best designer in the world, he took 4 baths a day. How long does that take? It takes a long time to take 4 baths a day. Okay, you gotta have set up your candles and all the bath salts. That's, but like he does leisure. Leisure is like an activity for him. It goes all out. So I think that's something that you want to fit all in your schedule. And the truth is, this part really hurts. The people who have the most hobbies usually work the most. It's expensive. You want to do like archery, race car driving, you want to go hunting, you want to go fishing, you want to travel. That costs a lot of money. So the people who are excellent at their jobs, how come the people who work 80 hours a week also are a member of the country club and they play golf every week? That's surprising, right? You think the people who work a lot don't have time. Apparently they do have time. So, yeah, this Zoom call doesn't have a limit anymore. It used to have a limit of 100 people, but we upgraded to 500 people. So you should be able to get in unless you have the wrong Zoom room. Let's see. Thrift Up is saying 3,400 items, sell 12 per day, list 20 per day. Sales have dropped. So Thrift Up, this is what I'm afraid will happen to Isaiah. So Isaiah, this person has 3,400 sales. I'm sorry, 3,400 items and is selling 12 a day. At this point, right, the store is growing, but the sales seem to have remained the same. So depending on what items are in there, what I would do is list less per day and fix old listings and really concentrate on what you're listing. It's really important. So whatever you're listing needs to start selling them. You need to start noticing the stuff that you're listing is selling immediately to reverse that. Like right now, I'm in that. Right now, I'm pulling all the tricks in the book. Okay, because everyone was complaining about, oh, you have a YouTube channel, and before I never mentioned my YouTube channel and my brand really when I was in my videos. But now I'm going to do that because I'm going to show, I'm going to, like Jen was saying, if I'm going to do it, I might as well go all the way. So now I'm going to ask every single subscriber, everyone, buy your entire wardrobe from my store because I want to go super beyond it. Right now, I have 4,300 items in my store. I have at least 50 sales a day. So that's more than 1%. But I did, when I restart the store from scratch and don't tell anyone, it will still only take me 2 months to make $1,000 a week, even without sharing it on YouTube, because now I know 90% sourcing. So that saying goes that I just made up right now: hard sourcing life, easy eBay life. Easy sourcing life, hard eBay life. If you go out and find whatever you can because it's easy, your eBay life will suck. It's way too hard to do that. You won't, it's too hard to sell random things every single day. So hard, mentally exhausting. So now that I'm thinking, every single category that you guys pick will take you a year, 2 years to master. But at that point, then it becomes easy. It might take you, for me, it took 4 years to figure out photos that I liked. I mean, that's a long time. Hopefully it doesn't take people 4 years to figure out what photos they like. But now I don't change my photos at all and they're all the same. So Thrift Up is selling pre-owned clothing. Number one thing that's going to change your sell-through rate is brand. Okay, so depending on what you list is going to affect it. Number two is going to be size. Actually, let me back up. Size is more important than brand because most people in the US are fluffy. Hopefully that's not offensive. So that affects the pricing. So if you sell fluffy clothing, you'll do a lot better than skinny clothing because there's more people. So that's number one. I'll tell you that in my pre-owned plus size women's, it doesn't matter what the brand is. 1X, 2X, 3X, 4X, 5X. There's lots of people who want that stuff. They don't want to go shopping. I'm just watching a Netflix show right now. A lot of people have anxiety shopping in person, a lot. So those people shop online. So you need to deliver the best experience you can. And I can see that being even worse because of the pandemic. People haven't seen people in so long, at least here. So in some places it's the same. But I do think there's more people shopping online. I think we're still in the beginning of e-commerce. As weird as that sounds, I think people who are thinking about quitting, that's like quitting. We're in the growth curve still. Like if you're waiting for a good time, the good time is right now. It hasn't been figured out yet. I think that eventually eBay will figure out a way to give the customer a better idea of what you have. So maybe, okay, this is out there, but I'm thinking you put on some goggles, right? You hold up the item and then you give it a 360 twirl upside down, right? I'm sorry, press record on your goggles, do that, stop record. Person at home can put on goggles and then they can see the item like you saw it. I think that will happen and that will be cool. People will want to buy because it'll be more immersive experience in the future. I haven't seen that yet. So when e-commerce becomes better than buying in person, I think that will change things. John?
So I had a question about accessory items to my niche, like for myself, like books and movies, bookmarks, and disc cleaner. Would that complement my store or be a waste of time for me to do?
It's okay as long as, okay, the way I look at it is, can I do it forever? So as an example, right now I'm trying to figure out an area in the front of my storage that I can meet with buyers. Meet with people who want to sell stuff. So I'd like them to come in. You have to have a minimum of 100 things to sell to me. And we'll sit at the table and I'll go through all of them and decide keeper, no good, no good. And then eventually I'll have a list that I can train somebody else to buy the stuff coming in. So if you want to sell things, think about, can you do it forever? Can you have the supply chain continue? And then it's worth it to build relationships. So as an example, the reason why I don't sell shoes, even though I love shoes, is I don't have a way of getting them. Shoes, for me, the problem has always been supply. I don't want shoes that require any cleaning. So that eliminates 90% of the used shoes out there.
True.
So, but if you're selling used media, or you're selling like our media call is epic because Brad is in there, and Brad has 43 full-time employees. So if you guys want to, he might be one of the biggest sellers in e-commerce ever. That's a lot, 43 full-time employees. So if you hang out with people who do that, then you'll figure out some hints on where they get the supply. And if you stay, this is really weird. If you stay in one category, you will not you will have more items to list than there will be more items than you can list.
Yes.
If you stay in one category. But that's counterintuitive because there's so much stuff. So it's hard to say, it's only day number 5, but I haven't really thought about selling other categories this year. I'm thinking, if I'm going to, can I do it forever? Just like these people, the people in the group. There's no one in this group that I don't want to be friends with forever, as long as you continue to grow. So that's the caveat. Growing means, okay, you add a category and you do it forever. Then next year you add another category, do it forever. That's compounding. That's like insane. If you can pull that off, where you can just do one at a time. You just have to be patient in the beginning when you pick something. That's why they say the passion is important, because if you like the category, you're more likely to stay in it. But you don't have to like it. Let's see. Metal detecting with CZ Kid. Sales are steady after Christmas. Storage purchases are coming soon. So, okay. I want to know what I could do I would love to buy lots. The problem is that there's so much stuff in the lots that's not in my category. So how do you get rid of it? That's really maybe I need a brick and mortar of junk, and you just come and leave a 6-pack of beer and take as much as you can. And so it's always empty. Let's see. Scott says, as a fluffier person, the styles are much more plain, so the fit doesn't matter as much. That's true. I would say the fluffy clothing I have that I sell all sells, and it's all different. The patterns are relatively simple. So there's also a really good market for brands like Torrid that, make a much bigger effort to make larger clothes more stylish. So that's a great market. If you guys wanted to make, I think people will continue to wear clothes for a long time unless something dramatically changes. So if you want to make a clothing brand that's plus size, you may not get a lot of Instagram likes, but a lot of people like that and fit that and need that. And the anxiety with going in person, I think, is a real thing. Lots of people have that. Martha is saying also lots of dressing rooms are closed. So that's even more challenging because you can't try it on. Mariah says that the Torrid by her house always sells fast. Yeah. There's I don't know if I have a Torrid outlet here, but I have an Eileen Fisher outlet. And it's crazy that at the outlet there are prices of over $100 for a cardigan. But I mean, that stuff sells like crazy. A used cardigan can sell for $80, but only in the right size. Okay, let me just give you guys an example of Eileen Fisher. If you type in Eileen Fisher in the eBay, it will populate XL. But if you type in J. Crew in the eBay, it'll populate the items. So like J. Crew dress, J. Crew shirt, J. Crew pants. So women or men who search for J. Crew look for the type of item. But people who search for Eileen Fisher search for size of item. So they go Eileen Fisher XL and they look through whatever is available XL and then they buy. This is what I mean by improving your sell-through rate. You would need to know that. So Thrift Up is in the chat asking about how to improve sell-through rate. You'd have to be more picky. You'd have to pass on Eileen Fisher that's size small, even though it's a really good brand, and maybe buy Morona XL because that will actually sell, sadly. So there's a lot of stores with really good brands and really low sell-through rate because it's the wrong size. Oh, one more thought. This is a coaching exercise for everyone. So you're supposed to ask people that you care about, which I care about everyone listening and in the group, what they want to be known for. So like that question should just be on your desk. What do you want to be known for? Do you want to be known for putting in a mediocre effort and wasting 80% of your day? That's not a good thing to be known for. Like do everything you can to be known for whatever it is that you want. And most likely that's just being reliable, being consistent. That's it. Reliable and consistent is 90% of what makes a good human, in my opinion. Philip?
Yeah, so I was gonna ask you, when you're doing your listings and stuff every day, and you're creating like drafts, like percentage or like proportion wise, like how many of your drafts compared to like, well, how many of your drafts are for like your emergency like draft bank, and how many of them are like for your take your days off during the weekend draft bank?
That's a great question. Okay. So normally 5%. So my listing goal per employee is 100 and they do 105. So what that allows me is for one day a month, they could screw up and I still hit my goal. Now I'm starting to realize that one day a month is not, it is only 12 days a year. So people might screw up more than that. So now my shipper also lists, and I want him to be able to list 42 items a day. So that's 40% over the goal that I have, which is 100. So what that ends up being is I'm expecting this year to lose one employee. So during that time that person's gone, I need to find somebody else. So, 4 months ago when I had 3 people going quick, it was awesome. Every single day on eBay, I was making more than $1,000 profit. When that lady left, it really messed me up because I had didn't have the processes set up to get somebody else new, and I didn't know how to hire. I was not a good judge of. I'm getting better at learning the character of a person. Now that the job, anyone can do the job. So somebody asked earlier, how long did it take or how many photographs do my people do per hour and how long did it take? Right now, each worker is doing 26 sets of photos an hour. That's where we're at, 26 photos per hour. And it took her 1 week to do that. To go from never heard of my business to 26 lists, 26 sets of photos an hour. And one thing that I am having a conflict with is plus size clothing sells much faster for me, but takes almost twice as long. So I'm really struggling with this. It's hard. It's a lot extra material. It's more difficult to make look flattering. It takes up more space in my storage unit. Almost all of it is priority mail, but it sells fast. So now I'm really conflicted.
So do you mean it takes twice as long in terms of photographing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Because it's harder to fit in the bag because it's bigger. And also the staging just takes longer. It's sometimes 3 or 4 times more material to be handling. And that's why I have the hanger and the flat lay, because I'm trying to give it as much texture as possible. If you use a mannequin, which I think would be much faster, I think it's a bit misleading because usually you have to clip it in the back.
Yeah, but not all plus size is the same size, Chris. I don't think mannequins will solve the problem.
No, it doesn't.
Where did you get your 22-inch hanger though? That I have a 19-inch that I thought was the longest I could get.
Jen, I think you missed my point. I said that it takes twice as long because it's twice as much material, but I have to use the flat lay so that I can accurately. The mannequin is for sure faster. It just doesn't make it look right. That's why I don't use it.
Okay.
Even having 10 different mannequins for all the different sizes and shapes of people, still faster than flat lay, but it's not accurate. That's why I don't do it.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Jen, what was that second part you said?
Oh, your 22-inch hanger.
22-inch hanger. Yeah, it took me a long time. I went on the Amazon. I have it in my my link description, but it took 2 weeks to get them. So I think somebody makes them. They're really expensive. It's like $6 each.
So a 22-inch hanger on a 1X versus a 2X. I mean,
Yeah.
are you seeing a big difference?
Yeah.
In
Well,
terms
it's a big difference in how long it takes me to photograph it, which is the most important.
Right.
As long
Okay.
as the item is photographed accurately and gives some kind of idea of the shape, I think it will sell for plus size. It's just I think what you could do is, because it's flat lay, what somebody can do at home is they can lay their item on their bed and look at the shape and kind of get an idea of what it would look like. And that's going to be way more accurate than a mannequin. Mannequins are
So
total BS.
do you offer in any of your I don't know, description how to take proper measurements of yourself? And I ask this because the returns that I'm getting are primarily doesn't fit, and I'm providing the measurements in 3 different locations in my listings. I can't do any more. So I'm trying to find a way to maybe help people along to, I mean, they're either going to measure or they're not, but do you offer anything like that?
Yeah, I offer one sentence which says, "Please compare measurements to your favorite garments." That's all you can do. Like you can't.
Right. Okay.
So somebody, or lots of questions in the chat. Um, does anybody do consignment? Tons of people do consignment. So somebody in the chat yesterday in the shoe call said that they have a very unique model where they don't need to pay for their inventory. Consignment is not unique. Tons of people do consignment. There's more stuff that needs to be sold than sellers. If you don't want to pay for your inventory, you just have to set up a consignment shop. It just requires a little bit of work to figure out all of the accounting part of it. You need to figure out when you're sending out checks. And you need to figure out when you're sending out emails to let people know. So if I consign with Paul, I'm like, hey, Paul, you never need to buy inventory again. I will drop off inventory for you to sell. But I need to know what happens every month. Are you sending me a report of what's sold and what's not and how much money I'm getting? Because I don't want to chase you. I just want one report back each month. And it takes a long time to set up. You have to figure out your exact business before you even start if you do consignment. And the lower your terms, the better the stuff you get. So the real sometimes is 90% to the consigner. So you sell something for 1,000, real pays them 900. Most people are like, oh, do you want to do 50-50 after the fees? That is the worst deal ever. Who's going to give you $1,000 item and take 400 after 50-50 and you take the fees out? No one's going to do that. Some rich people would rather set their item on fire than you give them $400 on $1,000 item because it's insulting. They want all the money. People who have all the stuff want all the money. So if you want to cater to those people, you got to give them all the money. You got to show up. The Real shows up at your house, white glove service to get your items. They go home and they list it. Like, this is so cool. I have a friend that works there, and he said that OffWhite sales went from 28,000 a day to 560,000 a day when Virgil passed last year. So that's how crazy the markets can shift. Imagine 28,000 to 560,000 a day. And then after a while, it goes back down to where it was before. So it's just, you have to be paying attention, and you can pay attention when you're only selling in one niche. If you're only a video game seller, you would know when Sony decided to ban used video games. And now maybe you have an opportunity to sell Sony on eBay for a week until they correct that issue. Virgil was the founder of OffWhite. He was I think the director at Louis Vuitton. So he made his own shoe brand. He's a designer. He passed at a really young age, I think 40. So that makes me think too, man, who knows? This could be our last day on earth. Who knows? So make sure you do as much as you can to let people know what you should be known for. So Mark is asking, when I pay my salary out. Oh, yeah. So I can be frank. My salary is $1,000 a week. So money gets the retirement stuff deducted out of that first, and then I get whatever is left. and then it is an expense for my business. So 52,000 is subtracted from the revenue of the business. And then at the end of the year, if I want to, I can take a disbursement and I get taxed differently on that amount. So that's how that works. And now all businesses, I have I have 5 full-time employees, 3 on eBay. So I'm thinking to myself, man, I have almost $1,000 in bills when I wake up in the morning. So I'm very motivated just in payroll. So little more than $5,000 a week I pay out. So that's a lot already to start the day with. Jules is asking about, is consignment covered in my guide? It's not. There's a lot of the main part of consignment is the software that you pick to do it, to keep track. So my recommendation is all consignment or no consignment. Don't consignment is complicated. That's why when she said it's a unique model, I'm like, first of all, it's not unique. Second of all, it's not easy. Here's the thing though, if you do a great job here, I'm going to shout out my friend Matt, let's do another one. This is Brian. I shout him out sometimes. I'm going to post let's look at his store. Everyone hopefully can see. This is Brian. He's in San Diego. He has 5,631 items in his store with an average sale price of $200. So $1 million listed on eBay, 100% consignment. So doesn't own any of the items. Very, very, very low sell-through rate. So we're talking less than 10% sell-through rate. So 5,631 items. He sells maybe 500 items per month, maybe a little more. This store is interesting because he doesn't work there. All the items are on consignment through his website. So let's see if we can find it. So he has created a way for people to send items to him. So here's the website. Whoops. So you can sign with him, right? So you send in your items about us, figure out all the different terms. So all the items go into the shop, which I think is in San Diego, but he doesn't live in San Diego. I think he lives in the East Coast. So he has like a passive income eBay store kind of. Stuff goes into the store. One lady does all the work. It's like maybe 20 or 30 items a day. And this is a premium experience, in my opinion. So let's look at the very accurate.
Does he only sell on eBay, or does he cross list to other platforms?
Only eBay. Only eBay. Comfortable 6 figures. Has the larger pictures in the HT. Look at this photo. It's unbelievable. How many people are taking a photo of a button at this quality? Very hard, right? So it takes a while to set up everything. Takes a while to set up consignment. Once you do, you're like set for life. This store is going to make money forever. It's already set up. It's different, right? So I sell used clothing. I don't need this type of a presentation. And a lot of people get these in lots and they always ask, should I take it? Should I take this apart? I don't think you should. On a new shirt, as long as you put the fit. So let's see. Tailored. So as long as you put the fit, you don't need to take it apart because people will know what this is for a skinnier person if it's tailored. So this store has a, fancy, let's look at see, I want to look at a suit picture. So this is cool. So when you have a store that's this quality, people will consign these types of items with you, right? Also, because of this type of store, he has what's it called? What was I going to say about his? Oh, I'm sorry. His store is his business card. So if you had nice items, would you want to consign it with this store? I would. Look how much care he goes into putting it. He's selling a used suit for $2,000. So every single item is photoshopped. So he has a really cool lighting setup. And I think the photos are excellent. and they're all is very accurate. I would be very surprised if you got this in person and it didn't look like that. I think there's also no returns. Yeah, see, when you offer this kind of experience, you don't need to have returns. But would he have more sales if he offered returns? 100%, he would. But you decide what works for you. Let's see here. Whoa. And he even has the black background for light colored items. Very cool. Tech and I do talk about this model, like a small volume store where someone does everything for you. Mark is asking if I reinvest all the money back in the business. Not all of it. That's why, because I want to buy real estate. So I'm getting my butt kicked in taxes, which is okay, but it's I'm not reinvesting all of it into the business. Let's see. Kim sources from a consignment shop. When they do have items that make it to the auction site, they have a brick and mortar website sales. Yeah, that's a sourcing from consignment stores is great. One more thought on Paul's consignment store when we were doing the example. After 60 days or 90 days, sometimes they keep your item and that's it. So if your item doesn't sell in 60 or 90 days, it's not their fault. It's your fault for giving them an item that sucks and they just either keep it or donate it, or they do a 99-cent auction and it sells for whatever it sells for. Because they don't have the space, because they're paying, when you run a consignment shop, you're paying for the space and the time to list it. So I really like that model. If you have the time and you want to put in it, make an awesome store, people will always send you stuff to sell. Nelson?
I wanted to say, because I recently ran into the end of a consignment deal, I think it's really important to clearly define your terms. I was basically making a payout on some sold goods. The 30 days had run on the returns on the items. I went line item by line item with my consignment partner. And then we got to the point of what I was going to be paying on tax on the profits. We're going to split the profits after fees, but there is also the tax that has to be paid. Since it wasn't clearly defined, I just ate that from my end of the profit. So I think it's really important that you clearly define your terms all the way through if you're going to start a consignment deal. I'm not mad about it. It's a profit regardless, but it's just important to know.
Absolutely. So let me give you guys an example. Let's say I give you guys a Rolex to sell, sells for $10,000. And I give you 90% because I'm a good friend. So I write you a check for $9,000. I'm now liable for the tax on that whole $10,000 purchase. So you need to pay attention, because what that really is you have a $9,000 cost of goods on that item. So you subtract that from the 10, you have the 1,000 left, and you're liable for the tax on that 1,000. It's not right, Cheryl?
You better be sending that person a 1099.
Yeah, that's right. Send that person a 1099.
Then you're no longer liable for the that 9,000.
See, this is why we have an accountant in the group. And Cheryl, text me, because I need to set up a thing for you so that you can collect. Everyone needs to buy Cheryl's spreadsheet, and hopefully I'll make it easier. Then you can ask her, because she's actually a licensed professional. I am not. So you should send somebody a 1099. But once you do that, then you are releasing your liability from that, which is nice. And you have proof. So people were asking about returns. The buyer can force a return no matter what. You could have 500 pictures of the item, a video. You video yourself on YouTube, walking to the post office, handing it to the carrier, giving the carrier a high five. Then you pay somebody on the other end to film the person opening it, and they can still say they don't like how it smells and return it, even if you have no returns. So that's why I think you should just offer free returns, because they can return it no matter what. Doesn't matter. Jeff says he does consignment only. Average price $150. It's very complicated and difficult. Not sure it's always worth it. I think if you're going to do consignment, you need a $100 ASP or over. Has to be. Don't consign cheap items. It's really hard and difficult. Might as well get paid a lot. And I think you should have really favorable terms. Personally, I think 70%. So if somebody gives you something for 100, you pay them 70. That way, it doesn't make sense for them to sell it on their own. and they always give it to you. And you just need 10 rich people to trust you, because people who have millions and millions of dollars that live in all these houses, what they want when they donate items, to be honest, is space. They don't really care. When they're donating items, they just want the space back so they can buy more new stuff. So what you need to do is make sure they believe that you're going to get them all the money, because people who live in those houses are also cheap usually.
And also the consignment deals that I've worked on, like the line items in the spreadsheet are the retail price as opposed to the sale price. So if you're not hitting a 75% retail or above, the consigner might be upset.
That's right. Absolutely. Ben?
Sorry. Yeah, I've had quite a bit of experience with consignment. It's one of my bouncing boards when for great opportunities when I didn't have the income. So I say, if you have come across an opportunity where you don't have the income, use consignment as a possible option. I came across $10,000 worth of vintage Star Wars when I didn't have $1,000 to my name. Yep. And all had the idea, hey, like maybe this guy doesn't want to deal with it and he'll want me to deal with it on consignment. It turns out that I ended up with 50% and like that 50% after fees, and it was great. But I'd just be very careful about the accounting that goes into consignment, because the amount of time that you have to spend to do line by line and then present that to somebody else for them to go through potentially, and it becomes a huge headache. So I don't do any more consignment, but I started out doing it, and I would highly recommend it for those who don't have the income or don't have the capital for larger buys.
That's a great point, Ben. Maybe I recommend consigning at least one item, because then it gets you an idea of really what the fees mean. Consign one item for your mom or your uncle or your auntie, and then explain to them what they get paid up front. Then you do it. And then at the end of that one sale, you figure out how much money you made it. And if that's worth it for you, continue to do that.
Yeah, I think just to build on that. Yeah, a couple months ago or whenever you started, you rebuilt from that small store and you started going line. I'm like, I did that in the beginning with consignment, and I really learned, like, not only did I have to figure out exactly like what the end profit was, but how much I'm giving out to these people. Like, so I'm doing all of this work. They don't have to do anything, and I'm sending them a check. Like, it better be worth my time. And it's like, you better work that out before you actually commit to anything, because it could add on quite a few minutes per item. Like, we're talking about cost per item, right? Per minute.
That's right.
I think additionally, you're correct, because I've had different items in multiples where the consigner, we've had undefined terms as to whether they wanted to wait for all the money or they wanted to move quickly.
Yep.
So because I didn't determine it in the beginning, it's their attitude has changed as to the product, and whether we should wait on money or we should move it quick. So you got to kind of communicate and make sure that time is worth what you're selling, because it is a lot of time.
Yeah, contract is, if you can, live frugally so you have a little bit of cash so that you can buy them out. If Rolex is really good, it will sell within $50 of the actual price. So if your friend wants to do consignment on a $10,000 watch, say, we're friends, let me have it for $8,000. If they say no, then say, good luck. eBay.com, do it yourself. It may not be worth it for $1,000. And then you're on the line for the return for up to 6 months and up to a year, actually, depending on the credit card issuer. Some credit cards will let you do a chargeback. Most will let you do it up to 6 months, and some longer, depending on the relationship you have with the bank. So you're still liable for the return, which is also an issue when you're doing that. So I definitely recommend a CPA. People are talking about Mark in the group. Mark's cool. I know Mark. I know he's also an EA, enrolled agent. Some people like that. So you can talk to him. You can talk to Cheryl in the group. I recommend talking to a tax professional. People are asking if the group is a write-off. I think it is. Cheryl, any specifics on why it would be?
It's definitely a write-off.
Yeah. It's an investment in your business.
It's continuing education.
Continuing education is the category. Thank you. So Flippable Goods is asking, we'll end on this question, which is how do I feel about turning off best offers under $35? I think under $35, you don't need best offer. You could just price it at what you want for the item, but you will get more sales if you have best offer. And remember that most people's first offer is their last offer, first and final. So be careful if you're thinking about countering or not countering. If it's already a good offer, maybe take it. And then finally, I recommend responding to every single offer, especially when you're new. That way you can figure out what your items are worth. Everyone keeps offering you the same amount. Then either you priced it way too low and people are lowballing you, trying to sell it for a profit. Very common. If you have a $90 Patagonia jacket, there are people that have robots set up to offer you $30. So that's not a lowball offer. That's a robot trying to steal it from you from 30 so they can sell for 90. You know, that's something to consider. Yep, that's it, everyone. That's in the Patreon. Today is coaching for the entire group. So even at $5, you get coaching tonight. It's at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time is the coaching. So join the Patreon. If you have any questions, write them all down and we will go until the cows come home. Ask us.